Good morning. It's time for another rant. It's not a rant. It's just musings and thoughts in my head. So I had a couple topics that I might want to discuss today, but since Gear for Music is sponsoring this video, I might want to talk about gear, not in a very positive light, more a medium light, not negative, but just let's think about this. It is the 24th of November, which means we're in the middle of Cyber Week. So before I go into what I think about modelers and digital in general, it's just something that came to mind. Should we quickly, just because they're nice and, they're sponsoring this video, go to Gear for Music and see what they got? I already made a video about their deals, but we can very, very, very quickly do that again. I got a screen up there. Let me see if I do this. Okay, let's see what we got. I mean, yesterday it was, I'm talking in the wrong direction. I'm sorry. Yesterday it was the jet guitars. They don't show up here, but let's just click on this piano thing. Keynote. I don't know if that's the in-house brand or not. But $400 for a piano. That looks, electric piano, but that looks good. Limited edition black Strat. Vision Key, I think that's their in-house stuff. If you got 3150, get the inflator, because it's the thing you put on a mix bus, and it literally does that. It inflates. It makes every mix just better. It's pretty damn impressive. I can't say it any other way. And it's so simple. You just go how much you want, and that's it. Ultra good. Plug in. Oh, Logitech 21 deals here. We already looked at the guitar deals in a separate video. You might want to go and check that out. Someone said that LA Select is a very good deal in the comments yesterday. The Line 6 delay definitely is a good deal. And $250 for a jet guitar, roasted maple, nice binding on it, locking tuners. $250, come on. How bad can that be? And a really good deal are the either this Sub-Zero cap, because it's got two vintage 30 in it for $285. That's just the speakers alone. And then they had like this vertical cap, which I can't find anymore, in green, really nice, also with two vintage 30s. So yeah, that's it. That's Gear for Music and their sale. Thank you, Gear for Music, for sponsoring this video. They've got warehouses in Sweden, Spain, Germany, and Ireland, I think, in the UK. They got showrooms. They ship rapidly, same money back guarantee as everyone else. Check them out. Can't hurt. Link below. So, modelers. We all love modeling. We all love software. We like the digital stuff because it is super convenient. And I know everyone's immediately going to say, yeah, but it's so easy. But I don't want to take an amp. But I have everything there ready to go, recallable with presets. But I get it. Oh, trust me, I get it. The all-in-one modelers, Quad Cortex, the Fender Tone Master, which I haven't tried, but the Fractal is the most professional when it comes to in and outs and routing capabilities. I understand why people play Fractals when they're touring professionally. It makes a lot of sense. And it is so much fun to play. It is so easy to play. Tonix is brilliant. Headrush, Helix has been on stages for many, many years and still going strong with the newest update. There are many reasons to play digital and to play modeling. If you wanted the same flexibility With an actual setup, you'd have to be Joe Bonamassa and have the stage full of amps. And even then, it would be extremely difficult and money would have to be no object. Of course, you cannot go on stage with an Engel, a Soldano, a Marshall, an AC30, and a deluxe reverb, willy-nilly switch between them, have your effects in all of them. It's just, obviously, the virtual is the way to go when you want convenience. No question about that. I fully understand that that's what's happening on stages. I fully understand that that is the world we live in. It is enjoyable to play. I played the Fractal stuff, and it's just, it made me sound so good. I sounded like a better player than I think I might actually be. There was nothing in the way. Everything was just allowing me to do what I wanted to do. And there's absolutely something to be said for that. Not having to fight with your rig or your tone, your sound, actually, in this case, is good. Digital, whether that's software, whether you have neural plugins or nano cortex, quad cortex, whatever, if you have that, there's absolutely, it's a brilliant world we live in where for relatively low budgets, you can get these amazing sounds that maybe otherwise you'd never be able to play. But I'm wondering if that is changing music as is. And I think it is. Maybe only in the tiniest bit, but I'm thinking we might be losing the tiny, tiny bit that matters in some styles, not all styles. Let me explain. When you're a fusion guitar player, where which note you pick really matters, and you need it smooth. You don't need attitude. You need smooth notes. You are a Martin Miller type player, that kind of stuff. You need perfection in every note. The Fractal is probably the way to go. That's how it feels to me. It feels perfect, absolutely amazing. Not cold, not sterile. That's not what I'm saying. It just feels perfect. Yeah. But is music about perfection? I have a hunch. Well, you take a fuzz or overdrive or whatever into a row of amps, and it's going to behave differently in those amps. And sometimes an amp doesn't want it. Sometimes an amp doesn't want to be boosted that way. And it's pushing back, and weird shit happens on low notes. It doesn't happen on high notes. Stuff happens. And even though something like the Fractal stuff, Axe Effects, can perfectly emulate that, it somehow doesn't. That unpredictability isn't there. That amp really sounds shit now isn't really there. And sometimes that shit is what inspires great music. So that's one element. I've said it before, I will say it again. The line from UA is not like that. It is the thing that has some kind of amp-like unpredictability. And the thing is, to the audience, if you're an audience member and you listen to music or live or on an album, the difference is not there. You can now absolutely record with a Fractal, quad cortex, whatever you want, and have the sound on an album of a big rig with real amps. I don't think there is a sonic difference. And if people ask me what's better, Tonex or Neural when it comes to profiling or Headrush or whatever, I'm going to say that that's all the same. The differences are so tinily minute that it doesn't matter for the end result. The stuff's perfect. But the thing is, you don't really take these sounds into the room anymore, right? You don't amplify them. I'm massively guilty of that. I mean, I'm as guilty as anyone I'm talking to that feels talked to. Because I have, in this studio, I'm in my editing suite, I got these IK Multimedia iLouds. In the big studio, in the other house, I got IK Multimedia iLoud MTMs. I mean, I'm using monitor speakers to do the job. Going through a modeler, going through software, or going through my real amps through an aux or Amp Central or Power Station or whatever, and then going through those speakers. So I do not play through an actual cab, except in amp reviews, which I do over here. But for music creation and for most of the purposes, I do what you do. I go through monitor speakers in a controlled listening environment. You might be using headphones, for example. But the thing is, we're losing a few things. If we're using fully digital stuff, we're losing the three-dimensionality of the tube with the cab in a room. And I know many of you are going to say, I know this argument. Trust me, I've been there with people. Yeah, but it's perfectly modeled in the blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it is, but it's still not in the room. So I'm not going to reveal who. You know who you are. I had a professional guitar player here, one of the best players on the planet that I know. Okay? When it comes to technique and speed and all that. And he's a pro. That's what he does for a living. And he said, I've never played an amp in a room. I'm like, what the fuck? What? So I took the Friedman Plex 50-watt Plexi on a 212, cranked it up. I cranked the shit out of it. Gave him a Strat. And his jaw dropped. He had never experienced that thump when you go chunk chunk and the air hits you. And it's a different air hitting you when it's tubes versus Class D power amps. That is really the key here. It is. Trust me, there is a difference. It's more three-dimensional. It fills the room differently. Instead of a thing that makes the music loud that you play, it becomes you and the music in the room. We then did a lot of tests. We took the Dirty Shirley from Friedman, and we took the Lion from U Audio, the modeling pedals, so we're talking about a digital platform, into the return of the Dirty Shirley. Made it loud with the tube power amp. That's the key. And yes, the three-dimensionality is there. The thumb is there. It was as good as an actual Plexi, but it was amplified with a tube power amp. So if you're doing modeling, you can get that real feel with a tube power amp. That's, as I said, the key. Now, we then did the other thing and took a Class D power amp, the Seymour-Duncan Power Stage. I think it's 170. And it makes it loud. It's close. That enveloping feeling isn't there. It sucks a bit. I mean, really a tiny bit only, but it does. It sucks a bit of the rock and roll out of it, the bit of life. It becomes flatter, less dynamic, less working with the notes, less with the volume. Everything becomes a little bit more flat. So if at every stage you're adding a bit of flatidity, flatulence, if you will, a bit in the modeler you're using, which is maybe a little bit more flat than the actual tube amp, and a little bit in the Class D power stage, and then maybe you don't have an actual cab, but you have an FR cab, which is full range, and you're actually running virtual cabs into your real cab to make it, because you want different cab sounds for whatever reason. We're losing a little bit everywhere. What we're going to lose is the notes, the way the notes sound. So what I've noticed is on Instagram and everywhere, we have phenomenal players, right? We have the speed people, the shred people, the tippy-tappy people. People are now on a skill level that is redonkulously phenomenal. Fully agreed. Absolutely amazing. But I wonder if that is because they're playing digital and they never have experienced tube amps in a room. Because when you play a tube amp in a room and you're hitting that big A chord, not drop, 8-string A, no, just an A power chord, you feel like a god. You feel like a champion, a hero. You stand there, and you lift up your arm, metal, and it's just a big feeling. Now you're playing through headphones or speakers on your desk. You know what? That feeling isn't there. And if you do the pose, yeah, it is because you're emulating what you're supposed to do. It isn't coming from inside of you. It's coming from, I remember, and then that sound, and then, Angus Young used to, yeah. I think we're emulating the poses of rock and roll because you're supposed to pose. But it's not the sound pressure and the euphoria doing it, if you know what I mean. I feel that all the notes and all the speed and all the shredding is coming. I mean, it's fun, I get it. But it's coming from not paying attention to what the notes actually sound like, how a note develops. During the life of a note, there's attack, decay, sustain. During the sustain, things can happen. During the attack, things can happen. How you attack dynamically, and of course, digital can emulate the dynamics pretty well. But when it's in the room, loud, the amp vibrates the string. The amp vibrates the guitar. The whole thing becomes a feedback loop. And I'm not talking feedback. I'm talking there's an interaction all of a sudden between the guitar and the amp and the speaker and back into the guitar. And that does things to the note that's magical. When you are all of a sudden starting to pay attention how a note develops over time and what you can do while the note's playing, which happened to this guitar player in the room, who I think possibly for the first time experienced playing with these types of dynamics, playing with these types of what happens with my finger while I shape the note, while it's still going because the amp is pushing the air into the guitar. Even though he can play like a motherfucker, he then started playing less. He started making the notes sound beautiful. He started to give the notes different attacks. He started to give the notes roundness, spikiness. He started playing with the volume in a very different way. And he shaped his, very quickly because he's a very good player, but he shaped his expressions of the notes in a very different way. And even though he can play very fast, he then didn't and just enjoyed the way the notes sound. Now, that is what I'm talking about. All that fast music, we talked about it in metal. It's just all notes. Nobody's happy anymore, just going boom, boom. Because we're playing these modelers, and we got to because the sustained note holds no magic to us anymore. And I'm wondering if that is because of the way, not that the modelers don't sound good and the digital doesn't sound good, but by not having it in the room with us and loud, and that three-dimensionality of the tube enveloping us, if because of that, we're playing more notes. You play the A and you're happy, but you play it quietly or with headphones with a modeler, and there isn't that feedback to the guitar, and you're not really feeling the sound pressure in the room, the next note you're going to play, I will guarantee you 100%, is going to be sooner than if you were playing with an amp in the room. You're pulling back when you have the volume. The same thing on stage is ga-gung, 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 ga-gung. You can feel that, or you can really feel it. I'm thinking a lot of the feeling is now being lost because of not the modeling, but the playing without volume. And I'm, again, as guilty of this. So I pose the question, would we play with better tone? Would we develop better tone? Would we play less notes on Instagriddle if we played with an amp in a room? Look at Kyle Ball. Kyle isn't a shreddy kind of player because he's sitting next to a 412, loud, and he goes gung, 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 and he's having the best time, okay? I don't think he feels the same way that others do because he can't do it technically. Maybe, maybe not. But maybe he doesn't go there technically because he doesn't feel that he has to. So I pose the statement that a lot of rock music that means a lot to us wouldn't have been written if those players had modelers. The Who? No. Led Zeppelin? No. You know, that music with attitude. Van Halen wouldn't have happened without loud amps in a room. Absolutely not. Hendrix, with its subtleties and the sound of the notes, I don't think so. Imagine all this music, but more notes. Less attitude, more notes. Is that what would have happened? I don't know, but I don't think so. I think that to regurgitate a performance or recording, yeah, go on stage, play a modeler. It's convenient. Tour with it around the world. But you are playing back what has been written. And if what has been written was written on a modeler, then I'm thinking, depending on the style, it's probably too many notes and a bit less rock and roll than it could have been. It's just the way I think you play. Again, it depends on the style. Fusion, yes, all good. Jazz is all clean. You don't need volume. Metal, you need the precision. You want the modeling because you don't have the headroom restrictions of amps, and you have that clarity and that attack because the power amp doesn't enter into it. I get that. But rock and roll, rock music, I think that's the era where the modeling probably takes away from us. And we talked about metal. Many people commented on that video. Thank you. Please engage in the comments. That it's more notes, and where are the riffs? I think if we played with loud amp in the room, we would play less notes and maybe write more memorable again. Maybe not. Maybe many people still do this. And we're not going to get rid of the digital. It will be on stage. It's the new thing. Many venues just, demand it and in-ear and all that. But I'm thinking that the attitude of Eddie, the dirtiness of Page, King's X, Dogman, I mean, listen to that music. That's got attitude. That's got balls. And I think it's very difficult to write like that without feeling the notes in that three-dimensional space that you get when you have a loud amp in the room. And again, I don't do it either. But that's my observation. Let me know what you think. Link to Give Her Music below. Please use that. Helps the channel. Makes them happy. They sponsor this video. Let me know what you think. This is a mean topic. I love the digital stuff. I will review it. I will say good things about it. It is a solution for many, 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 many problems. But I'm thinking we're losing rock and roll because I don't think it does it the same way. I don't think it inspires the same way. We're losing kids understanding the value of the note. And I was one of those kids because I started working with tube amps in 2006 when I came back to Germany. Before it was what note I play and not what it sounds like. And then I started working with tube amps and I started to realize that's what tone is. And I started to develop the ability to make the notes sound a certain way. And if you've never played a tube amp in the room, go do it and then join this conversation. Because this guitar player that I'm talking about walked home. He's still going to play modulus because it's convenient. Makes sense. Yep. Adam was at the end.
The garden's full of last year's leaves, the mailbox of reminder fees, and I'm not sure I'm needing all those shoes. The hall's a mess, can't find my keys. The kid is hurt his other knee, and now we're cutting back on all the booze. A haggard and grey, more work and less play. Our youth seems to fade, but can we complain?